I'm Tim Dooner here with the man, the myth, the legend. It's Chad Brevos.
Hey, it's great to be here. And first and foremost, Dooner, why are you wearing the gold chain? Why don't you tell everybody?
Well, everybody, if you know this theme song, you might have seen the show that aired at noon today. It was so Off the Supply Chain, hosted by Chad Brevos, that comes to you live at noon on Fridays.
On Friday, so it just released the version China Rising.
And surprise, surprise, I took home the gold.
Won. You are very competitive in your competitive banter.
I know, and like I said at the end, my next goal is to go out and defend it. I don't want this chain to come off my neck, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let it turn green. Who knows what'll happen?
Who knows what'll happen?
But congratulations on that. You're quite the competitive banterer. I have to give it to you.
Chad, we were talking about green initiatives, right, on a recent episode of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were watching that town hall last night, but someone had an idea. Some lady had an idea for a new campaign slogan.
Yeah.
And it was, what do you think of this? You're a pollutant. There's too much CO2. Do we need to eat the babies?
There is too much CO2. We're not doing enough. We're not doing it fast enough. We need to eat the babies. We need to. There's not enough time. We're running out of time.
That was crazy. It's going to be tough for me, though, as you may have seen on Twitter. I'm trying this raw vegan diet, so I'm going to have to abstain from this patricide because I have babies.
More for me.
Yeah, more for you.
No, so you're going on a raw vegan diet. So
trying it for at least a month.
What's wrong with cooked?
You ever see Tom Brady? Yeah, you ever see the elite athlete?
Kind of hard to miss.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay.
Just give it a chance. So I had that issue with the gout and everything. So and on FreightWaves Radio this weekend, John Kingston and we interviewed this guy Steve. He from I think it's from Run Strong is the company, and he was in shape. He was a boxing coach and all of these different things. But he still, his diet wasn't where it needed to be. So now he runs, triathlons in his 40s. He's doing an Ironman competition like Pickett. So I think there's something to it. And I was watching that documentary. It's evading me now. It's the one that's produced by James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger. But they were talking, they really cover some of the myths about needing meat protein. So it was really interesting. Not preaching to anyone else to do it. Just a me thing.
This isn't an evangelizing.
No.
Okay.
No. Let's get to the headlines.
Yeah.
But first, we've got to pay the bills.
Oh, yes. Triumph Pay. Triumph Pay is the leading carrier payment platform in transportation. With over 50,000 carriers paid, Triumph Pay helps to drive capacity, efficiency, and cash flow for brokers and shippers. Visit TriumphPay.com to learn more.
All right, let's hit the music. Baby. All right, so this isn't good news. I think we have some better headlines than at the beginning of the week where it was all bankruptcies, but this is still dark news.
This is a lot.
Yeah, 6,000 Mexican auto workers were laid off by the ongoing UAW strike against General Motors. UAW strike could cost GM, it's getting expensive, over $1 billion lost in production. The United Auto Workers Union strike against General Motors has forced GM to stop production at more factories across Mexico. General Motors announced it is shutting down the auto factory complex in the Mexico city of Salillo as of October 1st due to the lack of needed components from plants located in the United States.
Yeah.
The work stoppage affects those 6,000 employees in Mexico, many of whom were informed they would only receive a percentage of their salary while the strike continues in the U.S.
Of the 19,000 employees GM has throughout all of Mexico, all 6,000 who work at the Silao plant were sent home temporarily until operations in the United States resume, according to a report from BBC Mexico. The Silao factory manufactures and exports vehicles such as the Chevrolet Silverado, Cheyenne, and GMC Sierra models. The cuts at GM Silao plant brings the number of North American layoffs due to the UAW strike to around 10,000. GM has also shut down a plant in Canada due to the UAW strike.
Yeah, and the thing here is the UAW strike against GM is in its 18th day. So it's almost going on 3 weeks now. Around 49,000 UAW workers at GM went on strike September 16th, seeking higher pay, greater job security, and a bigger share of profit and protection of healthcare benefits from the company.
Okay, so in other news, Carrier agrees to pay. This got a lot of comments.
It really did, and we'll cover it in comment section.
Later on. Carrier agrees to pay $22,500 to settle truck drivers' EEOC lawsuit over service dog. So a Minnesota-based trucking company has agreed to pay $22,500 to settle a federal lawsuit stemming from allegations it required a truck driver to pay fees to have his certified service dog ride in the truck with him. As part of the settlement, Transport America of Eagan, Minnesota, has also agreed to revise its policies to allow drivers with disabilities to have a service animal to ride along without being charged. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, that's the EEOC, filed suit against Transport America on behalf of the truck driver Matthew Ellison, 30, on my birthday, August 20th, in the U.S. District Court for the District of Minnesota.
He was 30 years old, not Matthew Ellison the 30th. Very long line of Matthew Ellisons.
Matthew Ellison turned, he is 30. Anyway, thanks.
Why do they put that in the article anyway? I don't know.
It's
kind of changed.
The EEOC alleged in the suit that the carrier did not make reasonable accommodations for Ellison and violated the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yep, in court documents, the EEOC stated that Ellison, who suffers from social anxiety disorder and depression, notified the carrier of his need for this service animal to accompany him at all times. And it's a cute dog, too. In his complaint, the EEOC claimed that Ellison's service dog detects and warns Ellison about impending panic attacks, allowing him, and this is a quote, allowing him to move to a safe place and practice other therapeutic techniques to alleviate the attacks. Transportation America does have a dog policy that allows truck drivers to have the animals in their truck, but requires them to pay a $400 fee, and this is what it was contested right here, and it's an additional $3 weekly charge, which, sounds kind of reasonable. But the policy also prohibits truck drivers from having their dogs with them during orientation in service facilities and requires them to be kennelled or leashed outside during this time, court documents alleged.
Greg
Guggenauer?
Okay.
The Gooch.
Hey, regional attorney for the EEOC's Chicago district had this to say: employers must realize that they can't place unjustified restrictions on an employee's rights under federal law to have a service animal with him, regardless of what the company's policies say. We are pleased with Transport America's cooperation in reaching this agreement and removing the barriers in the way of drivers with disabilities.
What do you think? Do you think the fee's exorbitant and extortive, or do you think because there's what is it, like $12 a month?
But why
plus $400?
So why the fee? Is it because is it like a rent, extra cleaning?
Maybe like a rent deposit? Like you rent your apartment, your case your dog eats the walls or something. Could be. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Interesting case, though. And, with court fees and everything like that, what was he awarded? $22,500? So, was it even worth it? It sounds like they settled it because for them, at least, it wasn't really even worth it to go deeper. I don't think this guy made any money off this.
I don't know.
It'd be sad if they kind of retaliate against him, because it does sound like, the guy's just trying to do his job and the dog helps him. But in comment section rodeo, we're going to hear a diverse section of opinions on that one.
Indeed.
This is from one of my favorite articles because of my short attention span. It's from today's Pickup. I believe Linda Baker did that. We saw her out at, what was that, in Houston, the Trimble conference, right?
Yeah, I've seen her in a lot of places. It's becoming a blur, but that's right. Last place was Trimble.
See her again in Chicago. She doesn't stop by the office before then. But it says, automation won't eliminate the job of truck drivers, study says. An economist and commissioner at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics wanted you to know that automation isn't going to eliminate nearly as many truck driving jobs as people fear. In a study published in the Harvard Business Review, Maury Gittleman, the BLS economist, and Christine Monaco, the commissioner, lists several reasons why the industry should breathe easy, or at least a little easier.
And we've hit on a lot of these, but it's good that there is a study confirming some of these. First, truck drivers do more than drive trucks, and so even if the driving is automated, the work of customer service, loading, and more will still be in high demand. Second, regulatory and technology hurdles mean that automation of truck driving is far into the future. I don't know how good of a reason that one is.
Yeah.
Because the point is when it comes.
Yeah.
Last, there simply aren't as many truck drivers in the U.S. as people think. Although many reports. So I guess it's a capacity thing. It's like
that's some weird phrasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one I think is the most true.
There's not as many at risk because there's not as many that have jobs to begin with.
That you really think of. And by the way, it's a long time away.
Yeah.
We confirmed that. Although many reports peg the number of drivers at 3 million, in reality, quote, this is a quote, in reality, the amount is smaller, which means fewer jobs can be lost even in a worst-case scenario. The author's right. Well, we knew that too. Yeah. They put the number of drivers vulnerable to automation at about 456,000, a much smaller number than the self-driving truck headlines suggest, albeit still quite a significant one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what to take away from that one. Yeah, a lot of weasel wording.
I thought we might dive a little deeper into some of the reasons why they didn't need to fear. But
well, I mean, the reasons
we can do that.
Yeah, we will next time. But the reasons were kind of stupid. Because there's not as many as. I don't know.
This is an interesting one, maybe not surprising. Amazon scolded for being evasive on contract drivers. Amazon's response to concerns about the safety of its last-mile delivery contract drivers was not enough to satisfy one of the lawmakers looking into the matter. U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut, who along with Senators Elizabeth Warren, Democrat from Massachusetts, and Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio, recently demanded Amazon stop doing business with contractors that violate federal labor and motor carrier regulations, called the company's response to a set of inquiries evasive, and that it should throw open its books if it was committed to proving its safety record.
Yeah, Blumenthal said in a statement, instead, as multiple press reports and the responses to our letter demonstrate, Amazon chose to hide behind its delivery partners and a mandated veil of secrecy. Veil. Veil. They hid behind some veil. No, it's a veil of secrecy, like at a wedding, right? That's like a veil when you take the veil off and you kiss the bride. Secrecy to protect itself from a disastrous record and true accountability. The public deserves a substantive conversation about worker safety and a commitment to real reform. Amazon's time would be better spent working to provide specific answers to the questions we asked and address the troubling issue was raised. Blumenthal and his colleagues cited a year-long investigation by BuzzFeed. We talked about that article before. It was a great one.
Yeah.
And other reports claiming that Amazon continues to contract with last-mile delivery companies that have been sued or cited allegedly for failing to pay overtime, delaying breaks, sexual harassment, a lot of dirty dealings.
And for apparently I just came across this a kind of an in-depth article about how pedestrians are now getting killed and maimed. It's on the rise, and it's been on the rise for the better part of a decade now. The reasons are many. We won't get into it. But in light of these circumstances, and you have these crazy, violating drivers on the road, even just with this last mile delivery service stuff, it's just concerning. So anyway, in response to being asked by the lawmakers if the company would commit to ending contracts with companies that had violated labor laws or that have checkered track records, Brian Huseman, Amazon's vice president for public policy, said the company does not condone labor law violations. Oh, that's a relief, right?
Yeah.
Quote, where we find repeated violations or an inability to correct labor violations, we terminate contracts with delivery service partner program participants, Huseman said. We will continue to hold DSPs to high standards and take appropriate actions when DSPs fail to meet those standards. I would say that is evasive. It's just, here's our rhetoric of how we really are more careful than you think. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, big company, it seems like when you use these third parties, it is to sort of shelter yourself from some regulations. I mean, that seems what they're going at here, right?
Yeah.
With these allegations. We'll dive into that more. Nick Austin is back in town. Stone cold Nick Austin. He's going to come in and tell us when it is going to stop being so hot out here in Chattanooga.
Stone cold!
Fast-paced forecast.
Come on in. How you doing?
Welcome back, sir.
Digging the chains.
Yeah, well, you got to win on Off the Supply Chain. To get one, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Oh.
I'm 0 for 1.
Oh, yeah. I was, too. I started out 0 for 1, too. Now I'm 500.
All right, man. Well, hey, how you doing? Welcome back from Florida.
Thank you.
Yeah. How was it? Where'd you go?
Man, it's beautiful. Fort Lauderdale.
Now, there's a movie I watched called Crawl that takes place in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I have to see this movie.
You haven't seen it yet, but it takes place during a Category 5 hurricane. And there's flooding and all these alligators get loose. So I know there was that viral picture during flooding of a shark. Remember that one on the internet? There's sharks swimming through the floodwaters. Is there a danger during these floods of reptiles, sharks, dangerous animals being in the floodwater? Or are they worried about their own survival?
Probably a little of both.
Okay.
I've never experienced that in person. So, but I
Okay.
can imagine it wouldn't be impossible.
Has anybody ever been attacked by an alligator during a hurricane?
Not that I know of.
Are there really Sharknadoes? Like,
No.
Doubtful.
I was looking this up, though. I was looking up all of the alligator attacks that have happened in the United States, and almost every single one of them is one of two things. It's usually either a woman walking a dog or like a robber who's like hiding in a swamp from the police. And if you go on Wikipedia and look up the alligator attacks in America, really exciting. Like, go waste an hour doing it. But that's mostly what it is. It's usually, I'm serious. It's usually women walking dogs or thieves hiding in the woods.
I remember getting so creeped out when I went to a friend's to water ski, and we had a great time water skiing, and it was in Florida.
Yeah.
And then that evening, as the sun was going down, I was seeing all these little orange like dots on the water.
Piranha?
And I was like, dude, what is that? And he said, oh, those are the gator eyes. And I was
What?
like, those are the
What?
gators. There's gators everywhere that we've been water skating. He's like, yeah, they leave you alone though.
Oh.
If you just
You don't have a dog or you're not a thief.
yeah, apparently you've narrowed it down.
Yeah. So, Nick, what's going on in the wild world of weather out here where we've been stuck in Chattanooga? It seems like it's been 97 degrees
Man,
every day for the past 2
100
days.
degree heat with
Yeah.
records.
It was what was it, 101 degrees in Craig Fuller's car when he was leaving yesterday.
That's right.
According to Twitter.
I mean, since they started keeping records in Chattanooga, which is back in the 1870s or 1880s,
Okay.
it's the first time we've hit 100 degrees in October. I mean, it's really hot
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
Hot stuff.
But it's almost over.
Oh, it is.
And
Yeah.
now that trended across the country too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
heat wave.
A lot of, I mean, all the way up into the Northeast, parts of the Northeast, and other areas of the Southeast, Texas, places like that. So,
Okay.
but it's all starting to cool down.
okay. Yeah, give us the highlights and the
weekend.
lowlights.
Yeah, anything disruptive going on?
Well, we're going to cool into the 80s, at least here this weekend.
That'll feel nice, though.
And then 70s next week, so it'll be nice. We'll get some rain back
You know,
finally.
Dooner's cool, and he lives in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Of course. 18 in life. You
That's
got
right.
it.
I remember that song.
Yeah.
hey, but I'm
Um,
living in the 80s.
I grew up in the
remember
80s,
you.
too. I'm sorry?
I said, I remember you.
Thanks.
Still.
Good song, too.
Yes.
Anyway, you asked me a question. Outages. Is
Yeah,
that
and
what
well,
it is?
any
Disruptions.
and disruptions.
Disruptions,
Is great. Any
yes.
disruptions to look out for?
It has not been a good week in Missouri. They
Okay.
had heavy rain, and
Missouri?
more flooding earlier this week. So there's a whole about 115-mile track of Norfolk Southern Railroad from Kansas City to Moberly, Missouri, that's suspended because of a bridge in central Missouri that, because of log jams and flooding and debris flows, basically knocked the bridge out and it fell into the water.
Infrastructure
wow.
raises its head again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Rears
so
its ugly
shippers
head.
are going to have to expect a lot of delays as far as rail freight through that area. They're going to have to, just Norfolk Southern's going to have to try and find out how to reroute a lot of stuff. So, minimum 2 to 3 day delays.
I pronounce it Norfolk.
Yeah.
Norfolk.
Norfolk.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be wrong.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're from Virginia, you pronounce it Norfolk.
Nick, anything to look out for going into the weekend?
That's the good thing is most of the United States can be pretty quiet. There's not
Yeah.
going to be a lot of disruptive weather this weekend as far as snowstorms or a lot of severe weather. So that's the good news.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be some usual stuff as far as rain. And
how many more
some
days are
thunderstorms.
we going to be in hurricane season?
Well,
How many more
it
days till we're out of that?
it officially runs through the end of November.
Yeah.
Okay.
but
Oh,
it-
really longer
So
than
after
that.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, from June
Okay.
1st through the end of November.
Okay.
But it looks very promising that we won't really see much more happening with this hurricane season.
Really?
Certainly after next week.
Hmm.
A lot of stuff's indicating that we won't have the ingredients for
Aside from the
a
Bahamas,
lot of
then,
tropical cycles.
aside from the Bahamas, quiet season, hurricane season for the United States.
Yeah. The Atlantic season has been very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida dodged a bullet. Unfortunately, parts of the Bahamas didn't, but here in the United States, not a whole lot. So it's fairly quiet. Yeah.
Well, Nick, now that you're back in the fold, and now you're back on ground floor here, I'm sure your weather reports are going to be coming back up on FreightWaves YouTube channel.
Absolutely. YouTube channel. On Twitter, I'm at FreightWeather.
Yeah.
So I post a bunch of stuff. I post weather stuff on there all the time, just as far as stuff that's happening across the country.
All right, give us a little Skid
Yeah.
Row.
I was going to do it this way. So I think that's more fun. I don't know.
All right. No Skid
And then we'll
Row.
end.
That's good
There we go.
enough. Okay, nice. Thanks for
Wow.
joining us today.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. It's
Yeah,
good to
of
be
course.
back.
Welcome
Being
back.
on.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Also, our seat neighbor upstairs.
That's right.
Yep. Oh, don't drop your phone. Now we have a young man who has climbed up the ranks here. He started out, he's the success story you want to hear. Making his debut. It's Andrew Cox. Started out as an intern, and now he is a valued member of the Freight research team. He's going to join us for a little segment we like to call Off the Blockchain.
It's time we get off the blockchain.
The blockchain?
The blockchain.
Blockchain?
Let's make it digital. Let's make it digital, Chad.
Time to get digital.
Time to get digital.
We're going to get digital with Andrew Cox. We are talking about the Freight Tech 25 and the Freight Tech 100. The Freight Tech 100 is what we've been taking nominations on. That gets narrowed down to
the deadline is tomorrow.
It is tomorrow, and if your marketing guy hasn't submitted your company and you do anything with Freight Tech, get a new marketing guy. Use some job tech to go post a resume to get someone to put him in there. And I think Andrew's going to tell you why, because it's a great opportunity, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's an absolutely incredible opportunity. Oh, thank you for that. We've seen a lot of people that got nominated last year that have put it on their slide decks, and they've promoted it all over the place. It's a very thorough project, so I think it's not just a popularity contest like a lot of these awards are. So I think we do it right, and I think we've got an incredible panel of people that do the judging on it. So if you are nominated, it is an incredible an honor. So yeah,
and you can't be recognized if you're not nominated.
Correct. And we've had, I think, over 300 companies nominated so far. I do want to make a note that the more times you're nominated, it doesn't help you at all. So we've had some companies
stuff the ballot box.
100 nominations, and that makes my job a bit tedious.
Using their bot tech?
Yeah, something like that.
To
because it's determined by a single point system.
I had on Next Trucking, I had Lydia Yan on FreightWaves Insiders, which is out now, freightwaves.com/podcast, or your favorite podcast player of choice, FreightWaves Insiders. But she was on from Next Trucking. They've raised, I think, over $124 million in venture capital. They raised, $97 million for their digital freight matching project just this year alone. Incredible story by an incredible woman, 5'2" Chinese lady. Started out with 2 employees. Now they have over 200. And they're big Marvel Avenger fans, but I think that they also might do quite well in the Freight Tech 100 and 25.
They are nominated currently.
Yeah. Do you think they make the 25?
Probably. I mean, they've had a lot of buzz. I think that a lot of this, a lot of the voters take into perspective how many news headlines you've made over the last couple of years, and it helps if you've had a big funding round, you've come out with a big project. If you've had your name in a FreightWaves headline, that is a big help in voters' background.
Next Trucking also has a really cool website. I noticed that like a year ago as we were kind of emerging, and I was like, they have, it's very slick, sophisticated, makes the future look exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you? So you have an interesting task, and you have some real insight into this because you are going through all of the nominations. Are there any names that have popped up to you that you're expecting to see, names that you haven't seen yet? What is your sort of takeaway so far from this process?
Yeah, I got a couple companies we'll talk about here in a moment, but some of the interesting themes, I think, we didn't have, the big autonomous trucking is a big freight tech deal. Whether they've made that much progress or not is up to someone else. But there's like 5 or 6 autonomous trucking companies that have been nominated, which it'll be interesting to see if any of them pop up in the top 25. We've had loads of digital freight matching apps, probably 15 or so. See if any of them pop in. We only had Uber Freight and Convoy last year.
Convoy just added that free TMS too, and I think that is going to make their platform all the more sticky and really keep people inside that ecosystem. I think that was a very smart move by Convoy, and I think that's going to probably put them in the top 10 if I was voting.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
A lot of smart moves by them.
Yeah, Convoy is. I think they have that kind of number 1 spot in the digital freight matching at this point.
Yeah,
they're killing it. But yeah, I've got a couple companies. One that I think will jump in the top 25 that's not in the top 25 currently. Another that I think is going to fall from their top 25 ranking. Maybe not fall out, but fall. And then a third that I think will rise. They're low in the top 25, and they're going to pop up.
Okay.
So the first that I think is going to fall in the top 25, it's a big company with a big name, and that is Tesla.
Oh.
They were number 3 last year, and I think that number 3 hype was solely on that the overhyped Tesla Semi that we haven't heard much from.
No,
about then. Yeah, it has fizzled.
And let's remind
we've seen a few road tests of them. Like there's been people on Twitter who've caught them on the road pulling some impressive loads, but there has been there's been no press invites. There's been no road testing.
It seems like a pretty dysfunctional company. The top 5 last year was Amazon, P44, Tesla, XPO.
No, I don't think XPO. I think it was
XPO was 15.
Yeah, it was
Who
number
was,
4.
Who was 4?
May-
JB Hunt was
It may have
5.
been Convoy, number 4.
Could have been.
Convoy was 4.
I think it was.
Okay.
So yeah, I see Tesla falling simply because
So-
again, the news headlines, they're not in the news. The voters are gonna, although they may be, they're also a very innovative company. I think they stick in the top 25, but fall from number 3.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I got a company that I think is gonna rise in the top 25, and they're doing similar things, and that is Nikola Motors.
Mhm.
They snuck in at number
Nikola.
24
Yeah.
last year.
Nikola.
And they have had an incredible year. They had a great unveiling
Yeah.
at Westworld in April. They unveiled 5 new emissions-free vehicles, 2 of which are day cabs. And they've got big news of a big production plant in Arizona. Plus,
Yeah, their hydrogen approach
yeah,
is really for quite a while we've been thinking that that's there's something to it. And their
Yeah.
Gotta be.
the infrastructure, the ability to build with their 10-year plan of 700 hydrogen fueling stations across the nation. It just seems a lot less pie in the sky, a lot more realistic than a lot of, say, like the Tesla stuff that we have been coming across.
I agree. Yeah, I think they're also making a battery truck, but they are full on focused on the hydrogen. And I think because of the news they've made, they've got like 14 billion or so in back orders, they say, and like 1,000 trucks from Anheuser-Busch. I think all these headlines are going to be in voters ahead, and I see them jumping up from that 24 spot.
Okay. Yeah.
And then lastly, got one more company that I think is going to jump into the top 25 that was not there last year, and that is FreightWaves, Israeli-based international freight marketplace.
Zvi Schreiber, also on FreightWaves Insiders.
Yes, fantastic. They have had an incredible summer. It was like one massive airliner after another was signing with them. It was IAG, Lufthansa, over and over and over. And they also
Well, because they start out in the water, so they're bringing the air into the fold,
Yeah.
and maybe at some point from there they'll be hitting the land. But Z seemed very focused on expanding the ocean offerings and just making those inroads that they are doing such a great job in the air at the moment.
Yeah, I mean they have had a smashing year. They also got like $50 million in funding at the end of last year, and then on top of that, they are friends of FreightWaves. They have a bunch of Freightos indices.
Yes,
in
Freightos
Sonar.
Baltic Index.
Yeah,
we use a
which
lot.
we like that very much.
What about Flexport? I mean, they got that $1 billion in funding, but in terms of like headlines and innovation, I'm not like we don't hear a ton about. Like the most that we heard is like they got a lot of money, great. And
There it is.
that kind
That's
of-
like, I
that's
mean,
kind of-
we haven't heard much. It's pretty much
Yeah.
it. It's like you get $1 billion, and that's pretty much just takes over all the headlines for the next few months. And we haven't heard many massive contract signees like we have from Freightos. So I don't know.
They're going to be on. Someone from them is going to be on Insiders in the next week or two. So that's something I'm really curious too, because I imagine they're taking all this money, investing it, and there seems to be some secrecy around it, right? Because we haven't heard that much about it. So I imagine there's got to be something cooking.
Oh, there has to be. I mean,
Yeah.
you get $1 billion, there's something going on.
Yeah, some great parties at least.
Yeah.
Well,
Andrew, thank you for
This
joining
has
us
been a
today.
party.
Yeah, how do people reach out to you?
So I guess I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not really on Twitter much. LinkedIn, Andrew Cox.
Okay.
Probably the best way.
Cool. And
right.
since it's your first time, you
Thanks.
got to hit the cowbell.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Nice, good stuff, my friend.
nice. Hitting of the cowbell, and what a debut appearance.
What a debut! Brought a
Man.
lot of great information, and now we have Seth Holm coming in here
Seth Holm.
to play a little game we like to call earnings over under. He's in the green room chair, making his way to the stadium.
Earnings over under.
Boom! Another gentleman from the FreightWaves Research Group. There was your protege.
I know. Yeah.
Man.
You're, how does it feel molding a young mind of America like that, who started out as an intern for you?
Did you ask him?
Yeah, I
did
just
he
want to
say?
see it. Well, it's like a police interview. You got to separate the two people to make sure their stories line up.
Andrew's a great, hungry, smart kid. You
Yeah.
know, he's got really good Excel skills, and he's also really advanced for his age analytically and all that. So
Yeah, and you know what? He is also a very advanced cornhole player. He
Yes.
and I are almost unbeatable, and that's a challenge.
yeah, you
All
guys play every Friday, right?
Yeah.
He does, and you're very as competitive as I am in supply chain games. You are as competitive in cornhole.
Well, anyway, it was
Yeah.
great to have him on. He was very impressive. No good deed goes unpunished. We're going to have him on again.
Yeah.
And you are a tough opponent on earnings over under,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to give this a
And
whirl.
the FreightWaves Research Group dominated him last week with Kevin Hill beating
Yeah.
him. So
I mean, did he dominate me?
I don't know.
It was 3-2.
Since you're the loser, we'll let you go first.
Oh,
Okay. The first one is PepsiCo.
okay.
Earnings per share $1.50.
It was I'm going to say under $1.50.
Okay.
Definitely over. The stock got a nice pop.
It sure did. And they attributed it to the increased advertising that they had is causing consumers to shop more aggressively. This is from CFO Hugh Johnston. He said that on CNBC's Squawk Box, and he said their advertising is really paying off, and they're making great inroads with things like Doritos and Gatorade, and I think that their slogan has always been
I must have had bad information because I think I saw $1.49.
Well, you were wrong.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I guess I was.
$1.56. You got it right. Does that surprise you at all, though?
No, I mean, it's a very well-run company. I think it's actually pretty dramatically outperformed Coke over the last sort of 5 and 10 years and all that.
Oh, really?
They amazingly, like, as much as people are against junk food and non-organic and all that, they still like their salty snacks.
Yeah. I think a lot of us do.
Frito-Lay business is doing well.
Even those of us that are trying to eat healthy, there's still like that point in the night when you want to munch, and even that raw vegan diet, you got to find some potato chips or something.
You better go to bed early, or you might
know.
have the munchies.
Carrots and hummus.
Yeah.
Carrots and hummus.
Yep.
It's yummus.
Bought a lot of that. That's good stuff though. Costco, another retail store.
Okay.
Lead us off. Earnings per share $2.54.
I know they. I think the same store sales number was a little bit light, but I'm gonna say they beat on earnings over.
Okay,
I'm gonna go under.
269.
Hey,
he is right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
CFRA analyst Garrett Nilsson was rating Costco stock as a hold with a 285 target. He believes that the shares are fairly valued at their current level, but it said we see the shares valuation being maintained by relatively strong near-term trends. However, they think the lack of margin expansion, increased competition with low-cost grocers, especially Walmart. So they're seeing Walmart as a much bigger competitor in e-commerce business, is adding some risk for the coming quarters. So they're kind of saying it's a hold, maybe a buy, but you might want to sell pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you've ever taken a look at a long-term chart of Costco, it's absolutely unbelievable. So
you would hold.
Yeah, I would. I
We're
love
not giving
Costco,
advice here, but if you were a Costco stockholder, you'd help.
You can't help but go there and come away spending $500 on whatever. It doesn't matter.
I know.
Like,
have you bought your coffin from there?
Well, no. I have not bought my coffin, but
they sold those, right? Or they?
No, I have a little game that I play where my wife and I go, and I make sure I look through the cart at the end that we didn't buy too many unnecessary things because that can then tack on an extra couple $100.
That's like how the dollar store works, right? Like you go in there and you're like, okay, I'm going to get like hair ties for my wife and like a comb. And the next thing you know, you have like $36 worth of like just straight junk.
Yeah. And it's hard to find room for that 5 gallons of mayonnaise in your fridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
here's a newer company, Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix, they are an online fashion couture, fashion branding company.
Stitch Fix.
What they do that's kind of interesting is you put on like a fashion profile in there. They use data based on like your location and your build and all that stuff to be, I guess, your personal stylist. Yep. If you want to advertise on the show, I'd send Chad and I some. Be our personal stylist. What do you think? You think you can improve upon this?
Yeah. My wife enjoyed some Stitch Fix for a while, and I think Bradford still does use it.
Yeah. Maybe
it's that
Kevin
we talked about that on
Matt Hill.
We talked about how like that curated
Fashion,
shipping, like people like that. They like being
for
surprised.
a bit, but subscription, but cancellations were big too, and that was like the big problem, right? Is that like after 6 months,
hard to hold their
people
attention.
would be like, because I think what happens is you're excited the first couple, like even like Blue Apron and stuff, you're excited at first, the first few weeks, but then like stuff just keeps showing up, and I think like it piles up and kind of becomes a burden. Or like you have a week where you're not home to cook with the meals, and then it just goes to waste, and you're like,
or after
we should
a while
cancel.
with Stitch Fix, it's like, okay, I have now 23 shirts, and they keep on coming.
And now like my friends are making fun of me because it's like too noticeable that I'm trying to be too suave.
Yeah.
But anyway, Stitch Fix, earnings per share 4 cents.
I'm gonna say over.
Okay.
It's over. Full disclosure, I own the stock. I'm a believer in Stitch Fix.
Okay.
It's very polarizing. A lot of people don't like it, but I do think that the algorithms and the data science.
Did they send you this story?
They did not. Oh. But so you guys are. That's where I used to cover that sector. So I watched that one closely.
This guy's
not fair. That was not a fair one for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not recommending stocks on the air. Everybody do your own homework.
We're not. We're not recommending anything.
But
here.
I know it well. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what it was over by?
It was overbought. It was about 30 a few months ago, and then Amazon made some headlines about competition, and that's when it sold off. And I got in. I'm a little bit too early, but we'll see.
7 cents.
So
the company said
a chance.
Well, the company said that it has 3.2 million clients at the end of the quarter. It's up 18% from a year previous. Looks like they're doing pretty good. Their revenue is up from 438 million to 442. They're making 20% extra in revenue. So smart move, right? Fairly robust investment. And now it said, well, now this is the interesting part. They're saying that a lot of their investments now are going towards data science and engineering. So I guess that is trying to do a better job of staying on top of fashion and trend lines, right?
Yeah, and they have Netflix's old chief data scientist running their business. And so what you guys...
Is that a good thing? Netflix makes like the worst recommendations for movies.
That's true, but they're an early mover and leader in that kind of stuff. So
Netflix will be like in like you're recommended to you, it'll be like 31% like oh, you'll hate it. Here, watch this.
You have to hit I like the Netflix algorithm, but you have to hit and you have to tell them what you like. Yeah. If you don't, it's going to be pretty bad.
Well, it works for me.
It was very much trained though. It's clearly trained so that they can promote their content,
original content.
Yeah, sure, definitely, and they
Yep.
Just saying. All right, Bed Bath & Beyond. Earnings per share, 26 cents.
That's your turn.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under. This is a serial underperformer, and they always miss on sales, but I'm going to say under.
Well, without any other options at my disposal, over.
Smart move. Nice gamesmanship. They did go over. So I think the expectations were set. So at 26 cents, they went over 34 cents.
Okay.
So
nice beat.
Yeah, the discount retailer is facing some real headwinds, though. So they went over, but retail, I think their stock was down right afterwards. So retailers that are succeeding right now have more diverse product lineups is kind of what they're saying about that. Simply targeting home goods isn't enough, and they don't think their e-commerce offerings are robust enough. So I think people are kind of thinking Bed Bath & Beyond. So it's still the same story. I think they're lagging behind, but they still did an earnings beat, so they're still making the revenue.
Well, I'm lagging behind right now.
Yeah.
You often see that though in those types of stories when they're really under pressure, they really start to cut the cost.
Yeah. Last one, Constellation Brands, earnings per share $2.61.
I'm going to say under. A little underperforming.
Yep, I know this one too, under.
You guys are wrong. It was over.
Oh, it was. Yeah, so, it sold off hard though.
Yeah. So what happened is, and I'll give you both a fail. It was over. It was 272, and all of them were over. It was all good news this week, wasn't it? But so what happened is Constellation Brands. They had they're the brands behind Corona, Mondelez. They're mostly beer, right? Beverage. They got involved in the marijuana game.
Yep.
Canopy Growth Corp.
Yep.
And Canopy Growth Corp has lost $484 million. They've done terribly, but maybe these earnings expectations.
They got too deep into the weeds.
Shocker.
Yeah. Ooh, nice pun.
Yeah.
Well, I lost 2 to 1.
Oh, you did?
To 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You did it. You won. Congratulations, Seth.
I'm disappointed with that Constellation though. I should have. That was a whiff for me.
It was a bit of a whiff.
Wow, lost opportunity for me on that one.
We're going to cover this more with the research team on Monday's show, but where is the PPI at this week?
30. So,
oh man,
yeah, it's coming down more. If you did you look at the economic data in the stock market this week? That's kind of
a little bit.
The ISM in particular. Was
that came
really
out on
bad.
Monday, right? And that was
I checked it out when I was like, it keeps kind of moving that way.
And actually, a listener asked us to dive into that. So can you just give us maybe 90 seconds on the ISM and what that data told us?
Yeah, so there's two main ISMs. One was early in the week. That's the manufacturing index.
Yeah.
That one came in at 47.8. Below 50 is a contraction.
Yeah.
And that's the lowest reading we've gotten in over 10 years since June of 2009. So you don't have to be a genius to kind of figure out that that's not great.
Yeah.
And then
an early indicator. Right?
2009 was a bad year.
Yeah, but the good news is that's 12% of GDP, manufacturing. It's not, we're not living in 1900 anymore. But the bad news is the ISM non-manufacturing just came out yesterday or the day before. That's services, which is the majority of our economy. That one also missed expectations. But that one's at 52, so it's right above that sort of, it's still in that expansion area, but it's teetering.
How important is this year's holiday season to set the tone for 2020?
I think it's crucial.
Yeah.
I mean, consumer spending is almost 70% of our economy. It's the last thing that's still strong and holding up.
Yeah.
We need it to be a good holiday.
And it seems like so many people are just trigger happy on their wanting there to be they're like, where's this recession? Where's all year we've been here, they want it to happen, and then when it doesn't, they're like, I don't know if it's they're mad their prediction didn't come to fruition, or it just seems like it's just right over that turn.
If you just keep predicting it enough, it'll eventually happen.
Well, Australia hasn't had a recession since 1990, so 29 years. And now that we have more interventionist monetary policy and they watch the stock market really closely, I think it makes more sense that maybe. I don't want to jinx us here on air, but I hope at least that we're not going to have. I think it's going to be, quick, sharp recessions as opposed to hopefully not any more 2008s anytime soon.
Yeah, and then just quick corrective measures, whether it be on lending or whatever it takes to make the economy more robust.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, thank you for that analysis. You want to hit the cowbell, Seth?
Yeah, Seth, for your win.
Congratulations on winning. I've lost 2 in a row now.
You think George is going to win this weekend?
We better. I think we're a big favorite, and Tennessee's, struggling. So
you are playing Tennessee?
Yeah, I'll be disappointed if we don't win, but we'll see.
That would be shocking.
Thanks, Seth.
Guys.
All righty.
Well, now it's that time of the show where we hear back from, who would that be? The listeners, right, Chad?
Yeah.
All right, let's get them back up here.
This is always a very entertaining time.
Oh, what is it? Oh, I'm in the wrong battery of sounds. Let's move this right over here. There we go. Woo!
Comment section rodeo.
Yay!
Giddy up!
This is when our listeners say yay or nay to some of our articles on the new and improved FreightWaves.com. This was from the article about the dog, right?
Yeah.
The carrier agrees to pay $22,500 to settle truck driver's EEOC lawsuit over a service dog. Matt Nicholson, he says, nice that they are accommodating for him and nice to see such a good boy, girl. Happy traveling. Happy traveling, earning to the both of them. What a good doggy. You're a good doggy. Yes, you are. I liked reading that one.
Todd says, let me know how you feel when this guy has a panic attack driving through a big city like Atlanta and does something stupid and kills someone. If you have issues like this, you should not be allowed to have a CDL. There are many medical conditions that will disqualify you from driving a truck for good reason. These things aren't toys.
Well, Harry, he has to say, the FMCSA really need to crack down on this nonsense. If someone is so mentally ill that they lie and claim they need a service animal, then they need to stay the hell off our public highways. If my wife and kids got killed by one of these idiots trying to operate heavy machinery with mental illnesses, I swear to God.
Fired up. Sally Nemitz writes, I drove OTR for 8 years. I also suffer from depression and am under a doctor's care for it. I also got a dog to travel with me. It never occurred to me to object to fee. I thought it was reasonable. Having the dog with me made me a better driver. Not only did the dog help me deal with the loneliness, she also got me out of the truck when I was shut down.
Good point, right?
Yeah. I greatly appreciated my carrier, Crete, allowing me to have my dog, but I felt any fees I had to pay were reasonable. I think TA got the shaft on this one.
That was the $400, I guess, sort of deposit, the initial fee, then the $3 a month. So I think she thinks the lawsuit was a little bit frivolous.
Again, though, but I just don't. Why the fee to have a service animal?
I don't know. You know what I take umbrage, though? The guy's issue is social anxiety, right?
Yeah.
You're driving a truck. You're not going to have, a social panic attack while you're driving a truck. So I don't see what his point was about, I don't see why the dog's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, and they also had points like if you might have a panic attack while driving a truck, then you really maybe shouldn't be driving the truck.
But has he had panic attacks while driving? I mean,
we don't know.
That's cited there. It doesn't seem like he has. I think that the idea of having a dog with you is probably good for trucker mental health. Like Sally said, she's at least done this. I mean, a lot of these people who are upset against it seemed kind of speculative. They're like gatekeeping. I don't have a dog with me. You can't have a dog either. I like the guy who was like, good boy, good girl, though.
That was funny.
And Sally said, it really did help her get through this stuff. And her only issue was she didn't think the lawsuit was necessary.
Fair enough.
From the article, loss of parcel select business could hit USPS hard, consultancy says. And this is Stephanie Proctor. And wow, she's got a whole story here. I got to hold this up. They should lose every bit of it. Customers are sick and tired of paying for express and overnight and prime delivery, and then the USPS getting a hold of it and sitting on it. They can't handle delivering their own packages, much less another company's. In the past year alone, I've had to offer multiple refunds to customers because Amazon has chosen to use USPS to send the last bit of shipping on a two-day guaranteed package through USPS. Never makes it. Rare. So she. Oh, here we go. We even ordered a live rare aquarium fish that had a guaranteed 24-hour delivery in a special package and everything. It was shipping on a Friday morning, made it to Atlanta by 7 a.m. We were in Orlando. It sat in the belly of a plane, not in the live animal cargo where it should have been until 5 p.m. that evening, even after calling us numerous times. Then we were told it was too late to transfer to another plane and deliver, so it would be Monday before it was delivered. This was in August in Atlanta, in Georgia. Spent all weekend between us, the store, and USPS trying to get this $300 fish. Mind you, $125 was guaranteed 24-hour live animal delivery fee. They finally got the fish. It was very well cooked and dead. Wow, that got dark. That took a turn.
Stinky fish Monday afternoon, she says.
I know.
Wow. Man, what a story there. What a fiasco. Van says, I moved home from Charleston, South Carolina. I paid to have my parcel shipped by the U.S. Postal Service. They lost one of my boxes, which contained most of my theology books, my license, as well as my sermons, and they did not care. They did not contact me. I continuously reached out to them. No one tried to even tell me anything. Just because I did not have insurance, I paid to have those things shipped. They were not shipped for free. I have very little respect for the U.S. Post Office. They lost private personal items of mine that I could never get back.
Wow. His sermons.
Studying theology more than perhaps punctuation.
Yeah.
But,
well, you have a little bit of experience like that. Are these like very sort of like proprietary, very personal books that people would use for their sermons?
I mean, if they're your sermons, you know.
That's not people like.
It's just like anything. It's like if they were my writings of any kind, right?
But they're not just so like sermon's not just a reading out of a Bible, I guess is what I'm asking.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it like the color you put around the Bible reading? Like the verse you put around?
Like pastors, they'll say, well, I have to give an illustration.
Okay.
Which means tell a story.
Yeah.
You know, a real life story to connect to the ancient stories.
The ancient stories of when the post office, I guess, worked better. Okay, so Paolo X, or Paolo X, he'll take us out. He says, life goes on, people. We adjust, we adapt, and we'll be okay in a society that now demands free 2-day shipping, much like their $4 coffee. Get over it. There'll be worse coming as we end this whiny hipster and ninny decade. Oh, man.
Man, $4 coffee. Where do you get that?
I know. Mine was
like a bargain.
$3.96. I know. It seems like a good deal these days. Even in Chattanooga, people say cost of living is low, but like restaurants here, I feel like the prices have gone up, right?
Yeah, they're as expensive as anywhere.
I know. The Taco Nougat was up. Well, that rounds us out. Thank you for listening to us. And I heard there were some audio difficulties if you're watching on the video stream. We might be able to match up the audio track we're recording to back up here. So go to YouTube if you want to hear the nonsense we were talking about for the first 15 minutes. That is FreightWaves.com's YouTube channel. When you get there, you know what you do, Chad?
You bang that cowbell.
You bang the bell because you get a notification whenever we put a new video up. Also, you can like us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. That's where all these things are streamed. Maybe not Twitter anymore. I think it's on Facebook and LinkedIn. But go over there. You can see our feeds as they happen live. You can follow us still, the audio version, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are heard around the world. FreightWaves.com/podcast for all of our other shows. Off the Supply Chain, that's out on Fridays. That is Chad Prevost, little baby.
Well, I like to write those scripts for it and do a little hosting, but it's a big team effort. And congratulations again to you on your win as one of those panelists. You're the guys answering the questions that I'm putting to you.
And we're going to be in Chicago. We'll be in Chicago Tuesday and Wednesday. We kind of have a busy day Wednesday, but I think we might have some time Tuesday. If you guys are out there, you want to reach out to us at Timothy Dooner on Twitter. He's at Chad Prevost. That's DOONER. Let us know. Maybe we'll run up and say hi to you if you're a listener or you have something to talk about.
Chicago,
show us around the city. Show us the sights and
city.
sounds.
They don't call it the Windy City for nothing.
FreightWaves Live. Get your tickets. There's only, I think, 38 days to go.
Wow.
38 days. That's going to be in Chicago as well. We'll get a chance to scout it out. What do you want to do? What's the first thing you want to do when we get to the Midway?
I want to eat a slice of Chicago-style pizza.
I don't think you get it by the slice. You got to get the whole dish, whole deep dish.
That's fine with me. Yeah. I can't wait.
It comes in a skillet.
Oh,
a nice tray.
Yum.
Yeah. Any other suggestions, things we should visit out there? We'll be more than happy to check them out. That's going to be about it for us, right? Anything else?
Start up the engine.
Let's start up the engine. Give a little dedications. Little cowbell for all the listeners who tuned in this week. Little cowbell for the FreightWaves production team for doing a great job in all these shows out here.
Cowbell to all of you living in the 1980s.
Little cowbell for Skid Row. Bring Sebastian Bach back, man. Little cowbell for all the workers on strike who just lost their job. You've been listening to What the Truck. Hopefully all those things get settled. Little cowbell for peace and happiness in the world,
and the Three Sisters Bluegrass Festival, free festival here in Chattanooga. Maybe we'll see you there.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We out.